Good morning, third graders. I am going to be working with you on our second part of our rounding lesson. So the other day we worked on rounding to the nearest 10, and today we're going to be working on rounding to the nearest 100. Before we jump into the hundreds, I want to review how we round to the nearest 10. So a lot of times when we are rounding, we're going to be doing an estimation. And so I have solved this problem, and I'm going to round to check to see if my answer is correct. So my original problem, 42 plus 89 equals 131. And I'm going to use my number line to help me round to the nearest 10. So I've got my problem here, and I know that 42 on the number line is going to look like this. So I'm going to start with my 10 here. So I know that my number will probably be between 40 and then the next 10. So if I were to count 10, 20, 30, 40, then 50 will go here. Right in the middle, we want to put that 5. So the number that is between 40 and 50, right in the middle, is going to be 45. Now I need to make my marks out to count to find my original number, 42. 1, 2, 3, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45. Since my number is already 42, I'm going to stop here and go ahead and mark it. And 42 is right here on our number line. Now, I know that if I am anywhere before the 45, I'm going to round down to 40. So we're going to say 42 is close to 40. Then I'm going to draw my number line for 89. I'm going to start with 80 because that's the 10 we're looking at. And the other end is going to be 90 because my next higher 10 is going to be 90. Right in the middle, I'm going to put 85 and then draw my ones. 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90. So I know that 89 is going to be right here. And anything greater than 85 is going to round up to the next 10. So I know that 89 is rounded to 90. So my estimate for this problem would be 42 plus 90. And I know that answer is 130. So my problem of 142 plus 89 equals 131 is close to my estimate, so I know my answer is reasonable. Okay, let's look at the next one. 74 minus 27 equals 47. So I'm going to go back to my problem, and I'm going to go through this, finding my benchmark points. So 70 and 80. Finding the middle would be 75, and then marking out my ones to find my original number. 71, 72, 73, 74 is right here. So because it is before 75, we're going to say round down to the nearest 10, and that's going to be 70. So 74 is close to 70. I'm going to do the same thing with 27. My benchmarks are going to be 20 and 30. And I know right in the middle is 25. And now I need to find 27. So I'm going to go 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. 27 is going to be right here on this spot. Because it is greater than 25, we are going to round up to 30. So my estimate is going to be 70 plus 30. Actually, not plus 30, because my original problem was minus 30 equals 40. So I'm going to look at my number and know that 40 is within 10 to 47, so my answer is reasonable. My next problem is 148 plus 51. And so I'm going to go back to my board. Now, this is where it gets a little bit tricky because we have to think about our numbers. 148, we break this down. This is the ones, the tens, and the hundreds. We are still rounding to the nearest 10. So I'm still focusing on this 4 tens here. So when I draw my benchmarks, I'm going to be thinking about either 140 or the next 10 is going to be 150. I think a lot of kids will jump into doing the nearest hundreds rather than focusing on the tens. So if it helps you to draw this out, draw your little chart where you make your hundreds, tens, ones. Right in the middle is going to be 145. And I'm going to make my ones lines 141, 142, 143, 144, 145, 146, 147, 148, 149, 150. And I'm looking for 148, which is right here. It is to the right of my 145, so I'm going to round up to 150. Then I'm going to round 51 to my nearest 10, and my benchmarks will be 50 and 60. My middle will be 55. I'm going to make my ones 51, 52, 53, 54, 55. Since I know it's 51, I don't feel like I need to go further. 51 is on the left of 55, so I'm going to run down to 50. So my problem is 148 plus 51, so I'm going to add 50. And when I add those together, I get 200. Now I'm going to use my estimate to compare it to my answer, and I have a problem because my estimate is 200, but my answer is 97. So something went wrong. And I'm going to think through my problem and think about what's happening. So I started with 148, and then I added 51. So when I add, my number should get bigger, but my number got smaller. So I'm thinking when I did my work, I actually subtracted. And so I need to change my answer for my actual problem. I'm just going to do my work off to the side. 8 plus 1 is 9. 4 plus 5 is 9. And then 100. So my new answer is 199. Now that makes more sense because 199 is close to 200. So I know that works. I'm going to skip a couple of these. So this is a chart that we can use, and I'm going to make a resource folder so that you guys are able to go back to it and use this. It is not a hundreds chart because you have the 10 on the left and the 10 on the right because those are the benchmark numbers. So if I was trying to round the number 53, I would know that 53 is here, and anything on the left side of this line is going to go back to that benchmark. So from 53, I'm going to go to 50. Same thing if I wanted to round the number 37. It is on the right, and anything on the right of the middle is going to round up. So we're going to go to 40. So 37, when we round up to 40. All right, let's move into some new teaching. These are the problems from the math page that you're going to finish for your practice. There's 2 columns on the page, and I'm going to do the left side, and then you guys will be responsible for doing the right side. So now we're rounding to the nearest 100. I'm going to start with the number 465, and just like with the rounding to the tens, I'm going to identify the number that I'm rounding to. In this case, I'm rounding to the nearest hundreds. So my hundreds is right here. I'm still going to draw my benchmark, only I'm focusing on the hundreds. So my first benchmark will be the hundreds that I can see, 400. My second benchmark will be the next greater 100. So when we're counting by hundreds, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500. Now, just like with our tens, the middle number was the 5 in the ones place. We are going to look for the middle number in the tens place. So our middle number for the 10 is going to be 400s, and then the 5 tens with the 0. Remember, anytime that we're rounding, we are looking for a 0. Now I'm going to count by tens on my number grid line to find where this number would be. So I might say 410, 420, 430, 440, 450, 460, 470, 480, 490, 500. 460 is going to be somewhere right here because this is 460 and this is 470. So 465 is going to be somewhere in between the 460 and the 470. But I know that it is after the 450, so I'm going to round up. We say that 465 is close to 500. We would round that number up. Okay, my next number is 902. On 902, we are going to, again, draw my number line, and I'm looking for my benchmarks. So I'm going to look at the hundreds place, and I know that in this number I have 900. And then it gets a little bit tricky because my next 100 would be 1000, or we would say 1000. So I have to decide, is 902 close to 900 or 1000? I'm going to find my middle, which again, it's the 950, and I have to decide where 902 is. So I've got 900, 910, 920, 930, 940, and 950. I don't need to keep going because I know that 902 is going to be between 900 and 910. So my 902 is going to be really close to the 900. Because it is before the 950, we are going to round down. So 902 is rounded is going to be 900. Okay, the next one was 834. So I've got 834. I'm going to set up my number line. Got my hundreds, so I know my benchmark, my first benchmark will be 800. The next 100 bigger is going to be 900. So I'm going to count 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800. The next 100 is 900. Right in the middle is going to be that 50. So I'm going to go 850, And then I'm going to find my tens. So I'm going to say 810, 820, 830, 840. Now I know my number is 830, so that's going to be somewhere right here on the number line between the 830 and the 840. I know that it's before the 850, so I'm going to round down. 834 rounded is going to be close to 800 when rounded to the nearest hundreds. Sorry, I went too far on my slides. Okay, our next problem, 498. We've got 400. Got to find my benchmark, so I'm going to go with that hundreds there. So we've got 400. The next greater 100 is 500. Right in the middle is going to be 450. I'm going to mark the rest of my tens. 410, 420, 430, 440, 450, 460, 470, 480, 490, 500. 450 is here. 460, 470, 480, 490. My number is going to be like really close to that 500. So because it's to the right of the 50, we're going to go and round up. 498 is close to 500. All right, one more on this side, 69. So I'm going to draw my number line, and this one's tricky because I don't have any hundreds there. So I'm going to start my benchmark with 0. And then I'm going to think about counting by hundreds. So I'm going to say 0, 100. So my right benchmark will be 100. In the middle is going to be the 50. So let's mark our tens out. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. So I've got 50 60s right here, and then 70s. So my number is going to be somewhere about right here. Because it is right of 50, we're going to round up to 100. 69 is close to 100. On your paper, you will see that the rest of these are finished, and then you will have that whole side of 10 problems to do. There is a rounding chart for the hundreds. It's a little bit trickier to read, but if my number is 423, that's going to be between 400 and 449. And so 423, we would round down to 400. If my number is 682, it's going to be between 650 and 699. So I would round up to 700. Again, I'm going to create a folder with a bunch of math resources so that you guys can always go back to it and help you to work on some of these problems. When you finish with this video, you're going to go to the next activity that will take you to Kami, and you'll continue working on the page. Have a great afternoon.